Thank you very much, Julia. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending today. And I know the sun is shining outside. It's a Friday afternoon, so thank you very much for sticking around for this session. Julia's already introduced us, but my name's Georgina. At the moment, I work in learning development and education for Sage. So I deal with all the education, both internally and externally, for our online solutions at the moment. And Steve has been a product manager for the online solutions for quite some time now. So I'll be starting, and then we've got a little tag team going on this afternoon, so I'll be passing over to Steve in a little while. So what's this session going to cover? Well, firstly, we'll be looking at the technology trends that might impact your practice in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5, 10, 15 years. But then the software trends that are going to impact your practice. There may be some of you using online solutions in practice at the moment, but I'm assuming that probably most of you are heavily involved in desktop and maybe are moving into that online space. And then we'll look at the other areas that we might want to consider in the digital age, because that's what's coming. And a few sneak previews at some of our development projects that we've got going on right now. So if any of you have been into our VIP area, you might have already seen a few of these, but we'll be sharing what's coming with you later on in this presentation, or at least Steve will. So I'm assuming now that you're already using one or more of the following things in your practice. So online practice solutions. So the mainstream ones, we've got bookkeeping, payroll. Some of you might be online with document management at the moment. Most likely that'll be through a third-party provider. But Steve will be talking a bit more about the online solutions that you may or may not be using in practice already. Now, I'm hoping that all of you are using email. So you're online. If you're using email to connect to your employees, to your colleagues, to your clients, you're online. What about a practice website? So I know when I started working for Sage 7 years ago, I worked in the sales team, and I'd always liked to get a bit of an idea about what a practice was all about before I called them. So I'd Google them. And I never had that much luck 7 years ago, but now I Google a practice and 99 times out of 100, I'll find some information on them. So some of your websites are fantastic. So do any of you use mobile apps to aid in your work? So if you've got, for example, an online calendar linked to your mobile, then you do, your mobile. Social media. So, you know, I think this social media is a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you're not there yet, so you hate it. So it took me quite a while, if I'm honest. But LinkedIn, I don't know if any of you have had your photo taken yet on the stand. So LinkedIn is your professional network to connect with your peers. Twitter is coming on in leaps and bounds as far as the business-to-business community goes. So I know Twitter's had a bad rep in the press in the last sort of year or so for what it can do to bring down social media, but it has a lot of power as well, especially in the business community. So, online banking. So I'm probably assuming that every single person in this room banks online. Do you bank online with your practice as well? And online submissions. So our lovely friends, HMRC. So, you know, they still let some of the submissions go through paper, but more and more we're submitting online because we have to. So we have to find easier and easier ways in order to do that. So VAT, self-assessment, XBRL. I don't know if any of you have attended the new UK GAP sessions that have been going on around the room today, but FRS 102 is coming, and that'll all be online too. So, where's technology taking us? Well, I'm going to tell you that big got small, and now it's getting bigger again. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, phones started out, when we first started with mobile phones, they were massive. And then they got tiny, but then because they were better connected, there were more apps getting launched onto them, we needed to make them a bit bigger again so we could see everything on there. So that was why tablets were born, really, because mobiles needed to get bigger again, but you still needed to be able to transport them. So I'll mention wearable technology here for a second. So some of you may or may know what that means, but wearable technology is a growing trend that's actually growing a lot in the B2C world. It's not yet data presentation friendly, so it's not yet for practice, but it will be. So there's even a suggestion that charges should be leveraged against the size of the screen for video streaming. So basically, DreamWorks, the CEO of DreamWorks wants to charge by screen size. So he's called Jeffrey Katzenberg, and he says within 10 years, the industry will be charging by screen size. So I'll just read what he said. He said, I think the model will change and you won't pay for the window of availability. A movie will come out and you'll have 17 days, that's exactly 3 weekends, which is 95% of the revenue for 98% of movies. On the 18th day, these movies will be available everywhere, ubiquitously, and you'll pay for the size. A movie screen will be $15. A 75-inch TV will be $4. A smartphone will be $1.99. That enterprise will exist throughout the world, and when that happens, and it will happen, it will reinvent the enterprise of movies. Now that sounds preposterous to us now, but it's probably going to happen. So where is technology taking us? Well, in the B2C world, so I'm talking about consumers here, tablets are already looking like they're ready to take over. So you've got the blue is your desktops and laptops. From 2012 and 2017 is the future trend. And so your yellow are your tablets. So as you can see, they're catching up really quickly. So by 2017, they will have taken over. Whereas it's starting a bit slower in the B2B world. So we've got here, for you guys, we've got our laptops and desktops at the red line. So there's still very, very healthy sale of laptops and desktops. The blue line is your tablets. So while they're not going to catch up as quickly, you can see they will at some point meet, and then the tablets will overtake. So what does this mean for your practice? Well, I'm just going to cover these quickly because Steve is going to go into a lot more detail for you guys. But firstly, accountant services. So I've already mentioned some accountant services online. So the mainstream ones, the bookkeeping and the payroll, the data that you need from your clients in order to take that trial balance and move it onwards. Those are already online. You've seen like loads of stands in this room today. I mean, we've got our great friend Zero right next to us, who are in the online world, bookkeeping, payroll, all those solutions online. Sage offer those solutions too. So what about communication? So obviously I mentioned email earlier, but you're also possibly communicating via Skype. Google Hangouts are becoming more and more popular. So anyone with a Google account, the world becomes your oyster. I learnt how to Google Hangout about 6 months ago, and I absolutely love it. It's so easy. So moving useful information about. So it's taking that data, but in a format where you can actually do something meaningful with it. So Steve is going to introduce something to you in a few minutes, which will make much more sense. And then moving money. So I'm not just talking online banking here, but I'm talking about the possibility of paying your employees through your payroll solution with nothing else being needed. I'm talking about integrating your bookkeeping solution so that you can send a client an invoice and that client can simply bring up that invoice, click a button and pay for that invoice without anything else needing to be done. So things become much simpler when you're online. Mobility. So yesterday I spoke, I don't know any of you were here, but I spoke about multi-benefits of working online. So Online allows you to use multi-devices. So you can be on your laptop, you can be on your desktop in the office, you can be on your mobile, you can take your iPad and be on your tablet. But multi-location as well. So being online allows you to connect wherever you want, so you can be much more mobile yourself as well. And then finally, marketing and promotion. I mentioned the importance and prevalence of websites earlier, so I think the better and the more brand worthy your website, and the more you click on it, you see the homepage, and just from that one page of information, you get a real feel of what your practice offers me as a client, for example, if I was looking. I'm also thinking about promotion. So I know that still around 50% of generation of new clients, from your point of view, is through referral. It's still word of mouth. But in future years, that will decline, because the more business to consumer moves online, the less they actually talk to each other, the more you'll need to start using this social media, email marketing in order to generate leads, because we all know it's leads that generates business, wherever you are, whatever you work in. So at this point, I'll hand over to Steve, who will move on and tell you what's coming from Sage's point of view as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
No problem.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm a product manager in Sage. So it's probably worth just explaining a little bit about what that means, because it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people when I talk to our customers. So my job, I guess, is to look at any given product or a concept of a product and map out where it's going, and then make sure that happens. But while that goes on, we obviously talk to a lot of customers along the way, and I collect loads and loads of feedback and market data and all of those things. And I put everything into order, if you will, into priority. And then I give all of that to my lovely development teams, and I say, right, guys, this is how you need to build it. And then I'm involved through that process all the way through. And the way we've broken these categories down is really interesting, because quite rightly, a lot of our customers, when they come to our stand, or whenever we go and visit or we speak to them on the phone, they say, well, that's all well and good, Steve, that's brilliant. That's kind of what's happening. But what is Sage doing about this? And just a show of hands, I'm assuming you guys are all pretty familiar with Sage at this point. How many of you really think Sage have been very, very forthright and open about what's coming in the future? Oh, 2 hands? 2, 3 tentative hands? Okay. Yeah, that's not great, really. So this presentation is all about being very open with you, very, very honest with you, and putting it very firmly into the public domain as to what we're doing, what prototypes and concepts we've got out there, and really to give you a very strong flavour about what Sage is looking to do really in the next 3 to 5 years. So to give you a really nice, concise view, because otherwise, really, how easy is it for you guys to make decisions about your practice? It really isn't. So that's what we're here to do today. So as a product manager, I guess you could say I get involved in the nice, new, shiny things, which is my favourite part of my job. It's great. So, just to reiterate a little bit, let's talk about online and where we are in the marketplace. So, where we are is we've got various areas in terms of online development that we have both in our core product backlog, if you will. So that's kind of the list of things I want to do. And equally other things that come up. So we all know that there's kind of a practice accountants area somewhere in all of these solutions. You may have seen Sage 1. That's got the accountants edition, as it's known right now. We've got bookkeeping, we've got payroll, things like document management, mobile applications, final accounts, taxation, all of these great things, and tools for your practice. So things to help you manage your business as an accountant or bookkeeper. So I think it's fair to say that where we are right now is having somewhere for an accountant to log in. Bookkeeping and payroll can pretty much now be seen as mainstream. All of the big guys, all of us big vendors, we have it there. We have a lot of customers signing up to it. Yes, the products probably need to mature, and that's all in plan, and that's going ahead. But it's mainstream, it's there. It exists, it's existed for quite some time. Sage 1 for us has been around for three and a bit years now. So that's fine. The other thing about document management is that the majority of the market tend to do this through a third-party agreement of some sort. So people like us, document management isn't our core business. It's not Sage's core business. So where we're going with the online world is we're creating strategic partnerships so that if you're wanting a document management solution, it's something you can kind of plug in. And whether that includes optical character recognition and data extraction and all these clever bells and whistles, well, that's fine. That's up to you guys as to how far you want to go. But I think part of where we've come from as a business is we've always tried to do everything ourselves. And our leadership and our structure has changed in the sense in the last 3 years to say, actually, we need to concentrate on our core business. And we need to react to that technologies that are coming out. So what I'm saying to you now is that actually what's coming next? Well, what's coming next in the marketplace, particularly prevalent for you guys, is it's the era of practice tools and practice services online. That's what you can expect to come next. And it's not just from us, it's from all of our friends and colleagues all over this exhibition as well. So proof is in the seeing. I was going to say the pudding, but unfortunately I have nothing sweet to give you in the presentation. So you might have been into our VIP area. And what we've got is we've actually got a final accounts or accounts production, whichever way you'd like to term it, online application in development right now. And it'll be available to you guys before the end of the year. I'm not sure you've ever heard Sage say something like that in the past. I hope this kind of takes you a bit by surprise. So what we have here is as part of the accountants edition of Sage 1, we've got a pod here. You probably can't see it too well, but feel free to go in and have a live demo after this if you feel free. And here you can see your previous period sets of accounts and your, if you like, work in progress set of accounts there. And it's really usable. And the idea is that through online technologies, you can set up your trial balance, you can journal from that point, okay? You can pull through the data from Sage 1. Has anyone seen the new Sage 50 coming out? So the new version of Sage 50 in August, it's going to push data up to the cloud. That's going to integrate with this as well. So Sage 50 clients, Sage 1 clients become quite prevalent. Interesting. Competitor clients, well, whether they let us collect directly to them or not, or whether we have to do some sort of import wizard or something, we'll get to that, but we're certainly getting to that. So it's really interesting because the online world means everything's connected. Everything can have the capability to intertwine. Desktop, a little bit more challenging. Online, brilliant. We'll have some of that. So the idea here is that actually you can pull through the trial balance as you would expect in an accounts production piece of software. Then what you can do is you can get to your things like your profit and loss account. But the beauty is because it's all kind of intertwined together. This is all live, by the way. I'm not showing you just random screenshots. This is all here. You can go and see it. But here you'll notice I'm in the profit and loss account just here. Actually, by clicking on the figure, I can drill down to a high level, so just a kind of a high level nominal view. But actually from that, I can drill down further into transactional view as well. So if something doesn't look quite right when you're going through and you're starting to prepare these accounts, well, the data's there, isn't it? We can actually start drilling down and we can start getting to a bit of detail. Absolutely fantastic. Does this look like you would expect a piece of Sage software to look necessarily? Look a bit simple? Look nice and easy to use? Okay, bit of a thumbs up. Excellent. So that's where we're going. From that point, obviously, what you need to start doing is you need to start preparing things like your accountant's report and all the other your statements and the formatting of text and so on. So, of course, as part of the compliance we provide, yes, this is part of the system. But is it one size fits all? No, because what we can do is we can put some clever rules behind this. So, and we have. So the idea being is that for a particular type of client, actually some of this text may apply, some of it won't apply. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't appear unless you tell it to appear. So it has some really good logic behind it. The whole point being with the online technologies is they're supposed to be simple, highly usable, and highly efficient. So you shouldn't have to click the mouse half a dozen times, wearing out a mouse every 6 months because you're using Sage software. What you should be doing is you should be having a really usable solution which automates as much as is practicable, but the idea being is you still have control. So if you do want to click your mouse 1,000 times, well, fine, that's okay, you can do that too. But the idea is we're pulling together solutions on our Sage 1 platform, and I'll talk about that in a second in a bit more detail, that ultimately get you to where you want to go. It produces a lovely set of accounts in PDF format, It's all formatted beautifully, and it's something that really looks like you spent a great deal of time on. In certain cases, you might have done, because you might have had to go back to the client 50,000 times to ask them about various transactions and invoices and bits and pieces. However, hopefully by using the Sage 1 system or Sage 50, that won't be the case. So, I talked about this thing called the Sage 1 platform. So when we talk about Sage 1 on the stands and we show you these various applications that exist, Sage 1 are services. So let me call them services. So accounts or bookkeeping and payroll, let's call those client services for the time being. Then what you've got is you've got the Accountants Edition. We'll call that a practice service. Accounts production and taxation when it comes, and these other bits and pieces, practice services. So that's where we're pushing Sage. The beauty about the platform is that we only ever need to develop something once. And then what we can do is we can localize it. So Sage is a big company, right? Sage is an international company. We've got lots of developers all over the world. And Sage has gone through a massive transformation in the last 18 months. And I'm so proud to be part of it, because it means that actually something can be developed in, say, North America or Spain or Kuala Lumpur or Australia or wherever else in the Sage group. The idea is that these developers do 80% of the work to give us a core application. Then when the UK, i.e. us, we get our hands on it, we only have to do 20% of the work to localize it and get that application out to you guys and out into the marketplace. Because we're using common coding standards, a common platform, common components, all of these bits and pieces to drive efficiency and minimize duplication of work. Previously in Sage, well, Sage Spain would do their thing. We'd probably do something reasonably similar in the UK. North America would do something similar again, and a complete waste of effort. And that's how desktop companies used to work. That's fairly typical of how desktop companies have been. But Sage is in a very, very fierce process of evolution. We've got much more investment onto all of this stuff than we've ever had before. We've got a lot more drive. We've been recruiting like mad, and we've got some serious talent sitting there waiting, coding away at their keyboards, testing the applications. Our marketing guys, you've probably seen a bit of a shift in that as well. You know, we've got an online consultants team that will come out to your practice and consult with you and talk you through all of this. Not to sell to you, to consult with you. Big difference. So that's just a bit of a snapshot of accounts production online. You can see that in the VIP area. I'd urge you to do so. It's fabulous. In my opinion, one of the better things to come out of Sage in a while. But communication is pretty key. So things like, and I'll just get these up on screen so I'm not boring you with PowerPoint, hopefully. Okay, so things like video calling. Can I just see a show of hands? How many of you communicate with clients using something along the lines of Google Hangouts or Skype or something similar? Anybody in? Got one? No? Got another one there? Fantastic. Okay. So I work with a lot of practices in helping them to make that transition online. And it's amazing how they've reformed themselves in a lot of ways by setting expectations with their clients to take advantage of technology. So how many of you guys will go out and see a client maybe once a month, something like that? Hands up, face-to-face meetings once a month? Yeah, a few more? Okay. Are all your clients local? No, some of them are, some of them aren't. Okay, that's cool. So again, you think back to the way you manage your practice. Think back to the ways and means you could use, maybe not with your existing client base because they're quite used to the way you work with them, but maybe with new clients you take on. Well, actually, instead of having a monthly meeting with you, which is going to take me 4 hours to drive to you, maybe an overnight stay, and then 4 hours back to the office, actually, we'll have a 2 weekly video call. Be an hour's call. You can share with me, what's going on in your business. I can share with you some insight that, I've taken from some other tools I'm going to show you shortly. And, you could maybe have a slightly different type of relationship. Live data environment. So I've already spoken about that in terms of the platform that we have. That's a live data environment. You can take data from a range of different places and feed it into applications to give you a common output. So when we started with Sage 1, you probably thought, well, the Sage 1 stuff is just going to go to the Sage 1 accountants stuff. Well, it's not quite the way we're going to do it. Actually, what we're going to do is the accountant stuff, i.e. the practice services, we're not going to make that reliant solely on Sage 1. Yes, of course, it will take Sage 1 data in, but actually having the 50 data in the cloud is really powerful. So you don't have to wholesale change your clients to something different to be able to work in the cloud. You can start working in the cloud with some new technologies, but you don't have to start pushing your clients in a way they don't want to go. That's the Sage ethos. It's about choice. It's not about trying to drive you to do something that you don't, or indeed your clients are going to be resistant to. That's the way. So we've got various things, and we've got various stories of accountants who use this. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't worked. So web chat, some accountants love it. Some accountants absolutely hate it, being absolutely honest with you. Reason being is they don't necessarily want to be to the beck and call of their clients all the time when they're trying to get some work done. Other accountants think, well, that's a great service level agreement I can give to my new clients. Yeah, I'll encourage some of that. Just depends how you want to operate. Shared workflows, so that data workflow, getting your clients to take care of that payroll and bookkeeping data to a point anyway, and then that flows through to where you can journal, you can make adjustments, that flows through to, I don't know, maybe your final accounts or taxation and that side of things. Yeah, it should be easy. It should be very simple and very efficient. Notifications and alerts. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But what if something's going catastrophically wrong with your client's data? Do you want to know about it as soon as possible? Well, 9 times out of 10, probably yes, unless you're sunning yourself in Mallorca or something like that. Portals, we've all heard of accountant portals before, some of which have had, well, there's been a varied level of success across that. Mobile applications, integrated calendars, integration. That's the way it seems to be going, doesn't it? So let me show you a concept. So this is a prototype. So the definition of a prototype is it's something that works, but it's not in active development. So this is internal in Sage. No one else at this show has seen this. Okay, so this is absolutely brand new. So what this is a mobile application that works on an iPhone. So it is on an iPhone, and we've got it to work. Now, it's not necessarily how it'll end up. It might look different, it might feel different, buttons might be in different places, but this is to go out and start testing with our customers, going, hey, is this something you think you'd actually use? Is this something that would add value into your practice? What else would you want to link into this? What outputs do you want to see? So here, very, very simple, as prototypes are. You'll start with a client list. You can get into our collaborate functionality where you can share documents and data, that side of things. And there's a planner in there as well. So you can plan work, you can integrate with calendars. So you get into your client list. Oh, look, there's a nice photo of your client, although I have to say that's not one of our clients, that's a model. But hey, whatever happens. It gives you a few details of that. Sorry, I've just ruined your photo there by putting my hand up. Gives you a few bits of contact information. Oh, and look, you can actually pull out some data from the services that they have subscribed to them. So not all the services that exist, what's relevant to that client. Really interesting stuff. We then click on the directions tab. And, well, you're going out to see them. That's still very important to a lot of accountants. Yes, we want to go and see our clients. But if we're only seeing them, I don't know, once every 6 months or something like that, or maybe they're a long way away, well, why don't we integrate that into some sort of mapping system? Oh, yes, and we've got that to work as well. So their postcode is already there. You've already put it in within Sage 1, pulls it all through to the map, automatically uploads into the mapping. Brilliant. You get directions to how to get there. We've also started trialing on this. Well, what if you don't go by road? What if you're not driving? What if you want to book a train ticket? Oh, actually, that links out to a well-known, but I can't disclose website, and you can actually start booking tickets. Oh, and what if you wanted to book a hotel? Maybe you were spending a couple of days there. Oh, yes, you might be able to do that at some point in the future as well. Brilliant. Everything integrates. But of course, you guys are accountants and bookkeepers. Other important information is things like their financial information. You might want to see a very high-level view of their position as it stands at the moment. So I've just put in here, there's things like the year-end date and lockdown. You've got a sort of their financial performance there going on. And it just gives you a high-level snapshot view. From a mobile application, it's quite rare that you want to get into the massive depth of detail that you would do from a more rich web application. From a mobile app, you just want to see high-level summary data at the moment. My view of that is that will probably change as time marches on. People will demand more and more and more and more, and that's absolutely fine. But this is where we're starting. And again, you can access services from there. And then, again, this isn't anything brand new. Anybody use a calendar on their phone? task lists, that sort of stuff. Yeah, a few nods going on. But you know what? We wanted to actually tie this in to some of the work scheduled within the Sage 1 platform. And just to make sure that actually we could integrate it with something like, I don't know, Google Calendar or a native calendar application on your mobile, so it pulls those dates through. But also maybe think about your work in progress, your WIP, your deadlines, all of that side of stuff. That's quite important to understand against that client as well, particularly if you're going to see them. Also, we've got what's pending, and also we've got brought in some history as well there of what's actually completed. So as prototypes go anyway, that's quite a rich prototype. Generally, they have screen scrapes and various others, but you can actually use this on an iPhone, which is really good. As I say, it's not in with a development team right now, being actively developed as a mainstream application, but it gives you an idea of our plans. And it is very much part of our plan. It's very, very important that we start connecting all this stuff up. I love this quote. I think it's brilliant. Jim Barksdale is quite a controversial character in many forums. He's the former CEO of Netscape, and he basically said, look, if you can't give me good information, I'll just use my opinion and we'll go with that. Brilliant character. But it creates a really valid vision. And that is, if the information within any given system isn't useful to you, then it remains data, it's not information. So we're bringing something to market very soon. And what it does is it's a KPI and metric tracking system on the Sage 1 platform. So the Sage 1 Accountants Edition right now doesn't look anything like this. But this is one of the design concepts, there are a few, as to how we want this to evolve. We want this to move on. Because I think at the moment it's a little bit bare. It doesn't have the functionality I would like and a lot of customers would like indeed. So there's quite a lot of investment going that way as well, which is great. But here I've got a client list and I've got some useful information that's always specific to the user of the system. So it's not a generic brush stroke of information. This is about the user that's looking at this screen. So according to their login, their rights, and all of that sort of stuff, something that's useful. And likewise, when you actually get down to the client level, you want to see some useful information about your client. So you do want to see what they're subscribed to and what you've got them signed up to, so to speak. You do want to maybe see a bit of summary data information. You certainly want to be able to get out and do some quick reporting and quick links to the services that they're actually involved with. There might be some work you want to do. But taking a slightly bigger step back, this is what's called business monitoring. So imagine that I've just filtered that client list, and that client list is showing me only business monitoring clients. So these are only the clients that you guys have put onto that service. And what this does is it gives you a very high-level overview of measures and metrics and how their health is against those measures and metrics. So I'm sure it's quite a long way, so I'll just read across the top. We've got the quick ratio, gross profit margin. We've got things like return on assets, and there's quite a few different KPIs that you can choose from because it's fully configurable. But the idea is that you can go in and just at a very, very quick glance, you can say, well, actually, this client here, it's all green ticks. Everything's pretty good. But there's another client here and everything's red. That doesn't look quite so good. I need to go in and I need to have a look at what's going on there. The other point about this is you can set it so that it alerts you via email, via text message is the plan, but that's not in development as yet. So that if something does suddenly turn red, or you put a certain threshold against the client as to how much of a state their health is in, it'll ping you an alert to say, log in, there's something going on here, you need to investigate. And as I say, all of this is fully configurable. So what makes a green tick? Well, we'll give you some default settings, but ultimately, that's up to you. So you could say, well, actually, for my gross profit percentage, actually up to X% is going to be red. Then between this percentage and this percentage is going to be amber. And then between this percentage and this percentage, because that's really healthy, is going to be green. So, not sure if everybody heard that, but the lady asked whether that be by client. or whether it would be as a broad brush stroke. It's by client, or you can do it as a broad brush stroke as well. So you can set it across the system, or you can make it very individual, depending on how you want. But the thresholds, we would probably advise, if I was to give you a little advice on that, would be do it by client, because all clients are different, and you probably want to have different thresholds against different clients. Maybe, but that's entirely your call. But that's not really, that's useful, but it's not what I would term as information. What you want to be able to do is actually drill down and start going, okay, well, I want a bit more detail about this. What's actually going on? So we're going to start presenting to you, and I'll show you a bigger screen in a minute, but we're going to start presenting to you nice graphics around this. So we're going to start pulling out these ratios and these metrics and these thresholds, and what we're going to start to do is position those in such a way where actually it's very easy to understand. And there's a very key point behind that, because your clients will need to understand this as well, but I'll come on to that in a second. But the idea being is this is all fully configurable as well. If you want to see certain things in certain orders, there's drag and drop functionality. There's all sorts of really interesting technology-driven benefits to the way we've actually designed this. But what it means is, again, from this point here, you might view something and go, well, actually, that's not right there. I wonder what's going on. The data's present. So you're able to click on that, and you're able to drill down further and get back down to transactional level if you so wish. So it's a really powerful tool to really give you some very, very quick but very deep insight on a per client or as a base level. So eventually what you'll be able to do, and this is kind of, it's kind of quite small, I'm afraid, for you guys at the back, but I'll kind of talk you through it, is that when you actually get down to the client view, it actually gives you a list of your alerts. You're able to see a bit of a summary. It'll pull up all of these KPIs, but according to what you want to see. So that screen is configurable to what you want to see. And you can set all the thresholds behind it. So it becomes a very, very powerful MI tool, essentially. And that's how it's been designed. In the sense that also, you've got things like, you've got tabs down here, but the one that's actually highlighted is cash flow. So you can see where they've come from, and it'll also start to do things like forecasting moving forward. Really, really powerful. But of course, you're not going to do that just for the fun of it. Well, some of you might, I don't know. But the ultimate thing that, oops. Oh, sorry, I thought there was another screen there. One of the tabs at the very top is called the Reports tab. So ultimately, what you want to be able to produce from this, the end result, is you want to have a really, really nice management information output. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to pull out those relevant pieces of information. There'll be free text boxes within the application as well, so that either per category or on a per KPI basis, you can put in some free text and some commentary, some narrative, if you will. And then on top of that, you can then export a really, really nice, professional-looking PDF-based report that you can then go and sit, or Skype, or WebEx, or whatever you want to do with your client and go through the health of their business. And you can provide them with that really, really great advice that you always do, but without having to go through hundreds of spreadsheets and bits and pieces in order to get there. Yeah? Okay. So that's business monitoring. That is coming only a little bit later this year. We're looking at about September time, somewhere around there. So we talked about moving money. So moving money from within an application isn't anything that new, really, when you think about it. So you guys all familiar with PayPal, SagePay, BankPay, all of those guys, yeah? So I'm not going to show you anything new in this section, but what I wanted to get over to you is that there is a real trend moving towards, as George said, triggering a payment from within an application. By that, what I mean is that actually when you're looking at a client, or you're looking at an invoice, or whichever way it might be, you want to be able to generate a payment or accept a payment real time from within that application. And that is absolutely the way Sage is going as well, both within its desktop and within its online solutions as well. So clearly we prefer to use SagePay because it's part of our group, as you'd expect. But you know, it's about being able to put a little bit of automation behind those processes that we all go through very, very often. The other point is around compliance and cross-border payments. So with everything being connected as it is, we have strong connections with the European Bank, for instance. So what we can do is we can put compliance and regulation into our applications so that when you do make payments, it's treated in the right way when it hits its destination. So it's not causing a headache for your client or for your supplier or whoever it might be when you're actually doing this side of things. It is actually treated in the right way and sends relevant standardized data formats to them so that the systems can treat it the right way, both sides. Workflow-based payments, so you might end up, quite possibly, using some more automated workflows through Sage Solutions and other solutions as well. It's no secret that that's happening. But at the end of that, that might result in a payment. So if you think about payroll, for instance, really good example. Within a payroll solution, you go all the way through, you record the fact that you've paid them, but then you actually have to go and sort of instruct the bank to pay your employees. Wouldn't it be so much easier if you go through, you double check, you validate it's all correct, the system validates it's all correct, make sure you've got everything nice and accurate, and then from there, it just instructs and it just goes and you don't have to worry about it. Everything's produced, everything lands where it should do, compliance is all safe. Absolutely. It makes sense, doesn't it? It makes absolute sense. And that is the way that Sage Solutions are going. So I've nothing to really show you there because it's just happening across all of our product streams, and to be honest, it's not that interesting. It's just a button most of the time on a screen. But I just want to give you the confidence that these things are integrating in all of these systems. So mobility. Georgina touched on it earlier in the sense that we are demanding more from our smartphones. There's no doubt about it. My smartphone, I've got probably far too many apps on there. I get far too inquisitive about too many things, and I think the thing's about to explode. But this is why things are beginning to get a little bit bigger, because the processors that they're having to put inside, all that techie circuitry and everything, all of that is having to become more and more powerful. And it's great because it's driving the engineering and the manufacturing side of that vertical brilliantly. But actually, there's an awful lot more behind that from the software side as well. So these integrationary pieces that sit within applications, it's becoming easier in many respects because there are a lot more standards that Sage and other providers can adhere to, and it creates a standard language, if you will, that we can adopt. But still, the trend is that rather than having 100% of the functionality in your hand, for instance, actually they tend to have what we call a base online application. So what I'm going to show you now is the new Sage 1 mobile application. Now, this isn't for accountants, this is for clients, just to set your expectations. The other one I showed you previously is going to be where the accountants piece comes in. And this is coming in weeks. This isn't even months I'm talking about. This is coming in weeks. So, as you would expect, from a bookkeeping system, real baseline functionality here, yes, of course you want to be able to pull your contacts through. But from within this, you actually want to be able to call your contacts. You may want to email them from within the application, and you may want to maybe understand their address and then link into the clever things like maps and all of that sort of stuff. Brilliant. So that's kind of the basics, the very, very, very basics covered off. But where we're going with the first version of this is actually we're going to start being able to add data in, and it syncs automatically with that base online application. So, for instance, you're able to add expenses. So I've just grabbed a few screenshots. This isn't the entire application, but I've just grabbed a few of the more visual screenshots, I suppose you could have. But essentially, I can add an expense. I can tell whether it's including VAT or not. What's the VAT rate I want to apply to it? It automatically works out the VAT amount. I can add the supplier name in. If that exists within Sage 1, it'll automatically search for that. And then I can give it a type of expense and the payment date as well. Brilliant. So it's easy, it's handy, isn't it? It's just convenient. I don't even have to be on my tablet to be able to chuck some of this stuff into the system. Brilliant. Invoices are another quite a big area of the application. So I can create a new invoice, I can create a new contact, I can view all my contacts, goes back to the previous screen. But equally, I can look at my unpaid and my overdue invoices, or all of my invoices, which is how I've sorted that list in that particular screenshot. So at any given point, I can just I might be on the train, I might be in a traffic jam, who knows where I am, but I can just pull up very, very useful information about invoices that both I need to pay and the invoices that that are outstanding to me. So from your point of view, to give your clients a tool to be able to manage their cash flow far more effectively, is an absolute win, isn't it? Because you don't have to be on top of them all the time. Hopefully this will encourage that type of behavior where they'll actually be a little bit more proactive. And if it's in their pocket, and we all know we use smartphones all the time, you never know, it might even become a habit, and a positive habit at that. You never know. So the final piece, a lot of people talk to you guys about social media, and I'm not here to preach to you about social media at all. I want to focus on what Sage is doing to help you in these kind of areas. So I think that entering into online marketing can seem very simple on the surface, but when you start scratching beneath, it can become quite confusing, quite time-consuming, and really how you're engaging with clients and that side of things is commonly something that you probably want to do more of, but it can be quite inconvenient, and you've always got far too much work going on, and it's just one of those things that can get pushed a little bit down and down and down. Maybe not everybody here, but I'm sure everybody can relate to that to some extent or another. So what we're beginning to do is we're beginning to develop tools for you guys, for accountants and bookkeepers, which just helps with this stuff. Because you're probably more than aware, probably more aware than I am actually, of we have a big marketing team. They probably send you a lot of it. Yeah, a few wry smiles around the room. And that's great. So you understand that we're trying to tell you about our products. Ideally, we'd like you to buy products from us and become very engaged with us and all of that sort of stuff. Brilliant. But equally, from a practice to client point of view, it's sometimes quite difficult to try and manage all of that communication. How do you tell your client base that you're offering a new service? How do you tell your client bases that actually you want to do something a little bit different with your practice? Maybe you wanted to start, offering some online solutions. How do you go about telling your base about these sorts of things? Maybe you're wanting to do some promotional offers. I don't know. It could be anything. So we've developed a solution called the Accountant's Business Cloud. And this sits on our Exchange website. I hope you guys are aware of what our Exchange website is. If it's not, if you speak to these guys, actually, afterwards, they'll be able to point you in the right direction. But effectively, you can sign up to this, guys. And what it does is it actually gives you the ability to set up email campaigns to your client bases. So you don't have to do anything really fancy to do all of this. You don't have to manage loads of data or anything like this. This is an automated tool. We can import your contacts in, and you can create a campaign. Obviously, you have an address book with that. But the biggest thing about that for me, I suppose it's a product manager and me coming out, is around how do you check the results? What's the measure? How do you check that people are actually clicking and opening your emails and reading your emails? How do you check how many of those people actually replied to me about this particular thing that I want to talk to them about? So what you can do is you can set up campaigns that you want to run quite often, or maybe to different parts. So you don't have to do it from fresh every single time, but it's a really useful tool just to enable you to communicate digitally with your client bases. And it sits on all our web services. And from here, we even give you templates. How's that? So what we do is we've actually put together some really nice, simple, but very professional looking templates that you can then type in what you need to type in. You can drag images into it. You can put your logo into it if you so wish. You can make it look really super professional. But effectively, we've already done the legwork for you. So if you're wanting to promote yourself a little bit further, yes, social media has its place. I'm all over social media, so I'm not going to say otherwise, but it's just, I guess, my inquisitive nature. But actually, if you want to start engaging with your clients in a slightly different way, using a few online tools, and you're not quite sure where to start, well, we know how that feels. So we've taken our expertise, our internal expertise, which, to be honest, probably had a different function when those departments were put in place. But we're actually starting to share that resource out with our customer bases. We've trialled this with quite a few accountants, and overridingly, they've said that their client engagement has changed around overnight. They've managed to get messages en masse out to their client bases, and it's hit the note. Because we know that 44% of clients at the moment say that actually the prime way they want to be communicated with from their accountant is via email. And that's the majority of the section, based on the other answers that came through. So we've given you a tool to be able to hit that note and resonate with your clients in a slightly different way. Otherwise, let's face it, it's tough to know where to begin, isn't it? Well, we're trying to give you a bit of a helping hand. That's what it's all about. So I wanted to leave you with this. He was a very clever man in his day, wasn't he? Let's face it. But everything does connect with everything. And that is the way the online world is going. It's not necessarily 100% there yet, but where we're going is that applications need to integrate. Data is the asset. Data is the thing that we can pull out and we can do really interesting things and we can create great products on the back of the data. And in this day and age, in this era, the era of the practice solutions, we're able to start delivering that for you guys very, very soon, which is great. So that's where I'm going to leave the presentation for today. Has anybody got any questions for me at all? Or for George in that matter? No? Yes, it is. Sorry, to hear me, you'll probably need to put your... I heard you, yeah. Pop your headphones back on. It's very surreal, this. Because I can't... It's bizarre. I can't hear myself,
Steve.
so I've got all the background noise. You guys can hear me clearer than I can hear. It's very weird. Yes, it is. So the question was, are bank feeds coming into Sage 1 anytime soon? Yes. We have got those booked in. You'll have those, well, it's under active development by... when are they booked in for? September, October time is when they're booked.
Let
me just explain something about that to you. And it comes back to this kind of integration point. So a lot of our colleagues in the market, they use a third-party application to do those bank feeds. It's called Yodlee. Now, we've chosen to take a slightly different path on this due to some legislative changes that are coming next year. And we've actually now got agreements with all the major banks in the UK and Ireland. And we are having hardwire, if you like, connection with each individual banks. And that's why it's taken a little bit longer, because we've had to get those agreements and those contracts in place and those kind of legal bits and pieces that I don't profess to understand the whole lot of. But yes, they are coming. You'll have those by the end of the year as well.